at the time. And this man has a lot to say. What are we looking at? The panel of inquiry. Now, we all remember what had happened at the Council Secretariats in Rivers State when the newly elected chairmen were to resume office. Some of those secretariats were attacked, destroyed. An example, the Query Council, the attack also lingered on to Obiakpo. LML did not also escape it. There were also reports of similar attacks or attempted attacks in Aoda, in Emoha. It goes on, and this prompted a panel of inquiry. Now, if you remember, some political gladiators in the state who were not comfortable with the idea. Anyways, let me not let the cat out of the bag. All of those details will be coming. My other guest is a lawyer and a member of the APC in Rivers State. He was also the spokesperson of the Toyoko campaign organization in the last general election. Sogbeye Eli would be joining us live in the studio. And for you who is online, it's very simple. At Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, join the conversation. And one quick question I would ask you online, and I need you to respond, is whether you think the panel of inquiry is necessary, because there have been diverse views about it. Let's quickly get to Mr. Olalekan Ige and get him to join us on the show this morning. Mr. Ige, good morning to you.
Good morning, Andrew, and how are you doing?
Fantastic. Great to have you. I think this year, this will be the first time we're having a conversation.
I guess so.
I think it is. I said the Ruwama time. Did we have a conversation at the Ruwama time? I don't think we did on air. But
I don't think we did on air.
Yes, but I think it's great to have you on the show this morning. Let's just cut to the chase and start off with what we saw when the elected council chairmen were to resume office. What's your view about it? The attacks that followed and led to destruction of properties in some of the council secretariats in the state?
I think there is no right-thinking person that will not condemn the mayhem, the arson, the wanton destruction of public property. I don't think there is any right-thinking person that will not condemn it. It is condemnable, it is wicked, and it is irresponsible. This is public money that will be spent, to replace all these things. Look at the case of Equity local government. I hear a reasonable amount of money will be required to fix that local government, secretariat. And that's the money that will have just gone to other things. We are talking of the country being hard. We are talking of people struggling to survive daily. And we are looking at a situation where a local government should be helping the people, maybe in terms of agriculture, in terms of scholarship, in terms of promoting small and medium scale enterprises. And now you are going to spend money in excess of 400, 500 million, to repair such secretariat. So imagine what 400 or 500 million naira will have done to the people of that local government area. So there's no reasonable person that will not condemn it. There was absolutely no reason for it. In politics, yes, you learn to disagree. You can belong to even the same camp, belong to the same party, and share different opinions. But that's what politics is all about. You agree.
The show
Go on,
please. To disagree, or you disagree to agree. It's normal in politics, but to go to the extent of destroying public properties didn't just make any sense.
As sad as that sounds, there were some people that felt, it was brought on because of some political situation in the state. But what's even very much pressing now is the idea of the panel of inquiry. If you're saying that, what happened should be condemned, you also in support of the panel of inquiry set up and how far the panel is going with its work thus far. I mean, the recent reports we got, let me have you respond to that first. Would that mean that the panel of inquiry is the right thing that should have been done by the state government?
Well, I'm sure you know that the governor has a constitutional mandate and he has a prerogative on what to do at any point in time. The governor has chosen to exercise that prerogative, and in exercising it, he has set up a commission of inquiry to, find out maybe the immediate and remote causes of what had led to this destruction of public property. So in exercising his prerogative, I think the governor is right in setting up a commission of inquiry, is to invite people, come and say what you know, or there is an accusation against you. Is it true? Were you involved? Do you know what happened? These are normal procedures. If you fear no accusation, you appear before the Commissioner of Inquiry and say, this is what I know. If I was wrongly accused, then you state your side of the story and say, look, I was not there. I didn't know what happened, or I know what happened. This is who sent me, and and all of that. To me, there is absolutely nothing wrong in setting up a Commission of Inquiry. As the name suggests, is the Commission of Inquiry, inquire into what had happened, and I'm sure they will submit their recommendations to the governor of the state who has set up the Commission of Inquiry. So there is absolutely nothing wrong in this.
All right. So if that's the case, why are certain individuals and in some corners of the state this discomfort with regards to those being invited? We know that some of the council chairmen had been invited. The council chairman for I think Obiakpo had been invited, if I'm not mistaken. Ikwere had also been invited.
And has been invited too.
Exactly. And just recently, we also came to the news of the FCT minister being invited, as well as the caretaker chairman of APC faction in Rivers State, Chief Tony Okocha, being invited. But then some of these names have raised concerns from people to say, well, they're not supposed to be invited. In fact, if I would take our minds even further back, there was an interview that was had by the FCT minister where he said he was going to instruct his lawyers to stop a panel of inquiry, and people felt like that cannot happen or would not happen. Why are we then having this reaction to it and the names that are being mentioned that are invited by the panel?
Yeah, but is this the first time that Rivers State government will setting up a panel of inquiry? Even under the immediate past governor of Rivers State and now the minister of FCT, Chief Yesom Wike. I hope you know that he set up a panel of inquiry upon absorption of office. We have several people who held various positions under his predecessor were invited by the panel of inquiry. There is nothing new in this Rivers State government setting up a panel of inquiry and listing people to be invited. It's not new. Under Amechi's administration, remember we had some kind of a panel headed by the late Justice Kayode Esho, where Amechi's predecessor, Dr. Peter Odili, was also invited by the panel. In fact, the panel had to take his sitting to Abuja to enable Dr. Peter Odili appear on that panel. I'm sure you've heard
he appeared.
Under Amechi's administration. Even under Wike's administration, Amechi was invited by the panel then, and most of the key players who served under Amechi's administration. So is there anything new today if Governor Fubara will be the third successive governor in Rivers State to set up a panel of inquiry? There's nothing new in this. So I don't know why people are complaining about this or something. It's normal what Rivers State government have done, over the last 24 years. So to me, there is absolutely nothing wrong in this. If you have been invited by the panel, the logical thing to do is either you appear in person or you send a representation, make your presentation before them. There's nothing new in this.
So in your opinion, then, why do you think we have all the fuss around the invite that has been made towards extended towards the FCT minister? And secondly, which is even much more interesting, is people asking whether it is necessary to appear before a panel of inquiry if you are invited to.
Well, they said a clear mind fears no accusation. If a panel has invited you to appear, you have the liberty to appear. If you choose not to appear, you can send a representation to the panel. If you choose not to do either of the two, then you leave the panel the liberty to submit its recommendation to the governor of Rivers State. I'm sure after the submission of the recommendations of the panel, the Rivers State government will issue a white paper. Remember, this same thing happened under the past administration of Governor Yesom Wike, when the panel submitted its report to former Governor Yesom Wike, who issued the white paper. And part of the recommendations of that white paper were that some people should be formally charged before a court of law. So in this case, if the panel invites you, you choose not to come or not to send a representation, then you leave the panel with the obvious choice of submitting its final report to the governor. Then from there, you await what will be the white paper upon the recommendation submitted to the governor.
Those who see it as an exercise in futility, do they have a point? Because, I mean, if you look at the panels in the past, it's not as though the recommendations of those panels were implemented as it ought to be. And for some people, this might just end up being one of those. So they really don't take it seriously. In your perspective, when you look at the situation and the members of this panel and how it's going thus far, do you think that this might also be how it ends?
Except I say probably people are saying maybe this might be a witch hunt, or
there's
something.
Also that speculation, and because people think that the FCT minister should not be invited. He was not here. He was not part of anything. He was not seen anywhere around that place. So why on earth would he be invited? Although some argument would be that in the videos of people who were protesting and were alleged to have carried out the destruction, they were chanting the name of the FCT minister. Some people say that could be enough reason why they would have to invite him to come and clarify whether he knows anything about this or not. I don't think if that makes sense. Do you think it makes sense?
The panel has the right to invite any Rivers person or any Nigerian, wherever the person resides. It depends on what the memoranda that has been submitted before the panel. I do not have access to the memoranda. I do not know who submitted what and against who, but the panel has a right to invite anybody. And I just gave you an example of some kind of panel like that happened under Amechi. His predecessor, Dr. Peter Odili, appeared before that panel in Abuja, led by Justice Kayode. Of course, a lot of people shouted witch hunt then, but Dr. Peter Odili, you know him already. He said no, he would rather prefer to appear in person, and he appeared before the panel, and they asked him a lot of questions pertaining to his administration and all of that. So if Dr. Peter Odili could choose to appear before the panel, then he could have decided to say, look, I'm not going to appear. But he chose to appear just to prove that, look, he's not afraid of that Justice Kayode. I think Truth and Reconciliation Commission or something. So if the current panel is going to invite the former governor and now the minister of FCT, I don't see anything bad in it. The panel has a right to invite any Rivers person, any Nigerian, to just come and make a presentation. Remember that the panel has not accused anybody, is not accusing anybody. Is only inviting people to say, look, can you come and shed more light based on this memorandum or memoranda we received against you? Is it possible that you come and shed more light? If the former governor of that state and now the minister of FCT chooses to appear, he can even say, look, due to the demands of my work, I will be unable to appear before you in Port Harcourt. Can you come to Abuja and let me appear for you, just like Dr. Peter Odili did then? I don't see anything wrong in it if the panel invites anybody. If you have no fears or nothing to be worried about, you can make representation via a lawyer to say, look, can you send me a copy of what I've been accused of? Can I please respond via a letter? Or can you come to Abuja? I'm even ready to pay for it live so that Rivers people or Nigerians can hear my own side of the story. So I don't see nothing wrong in
all right, then, Mr. Ige,
governor being invited.
All right, thank you. Olalekan Ige is with us here in the studio. I beg your pardon, Sogbeye Eli is with us here in the studio. Mr. Eli, welcome. Happy New Year, new month. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me, and I apologize for running in late. Yeah.
All right. We have a short commercial now. We would have to just quickly take it, and then we'll come over to you to respond to. Okay. I think we might not have to go for that break. Not necessary. So let's do this quickly and get your opinion. I was talking to Ige. You said quite a lot. You are a lawyer. So, I think it would be very great for you to give us some legal perspective to it. What is the power of the panel? How wide are the powers of a panel of inquiry? Because in this particular case, the reports and the reports are that, well, some individuals should not be invited. What would even warrant an individual to be invited by a panel of this nature?
Well, let's begin by saying that there's no one approach fits all situations for every panel of inquiry. But having said that, let me say this. A commission of inquiry is derived or is set up via what they call the Commission of Inquiries Act. In the case of a state, Commission of Inquiry Law, which is a quasi-judicial proceeding away from the regular court systems. If it's in military right, we want to call it a tribunal, right? Where the judge or one learned in the law is made to heads, and then they sit and extract evidence from people who have filed memoranda who are invited on the subject matter. But see, for every commission of inquiry, there is a term of reference. So, the term of reference will define the scope of work of that panel. In this case, the panel headed by Milord the Honorable Justice Sibiwengi Minakiri, arson, killings, destruction that visited Rivers State between October 5, when the council election held, and October 7, when some chairman went to resume, and then mayhem was let loose. So I think the scope is confined to that period between October 5 and October 7.
Right. Some people question the invitation of the FCT minister. All right, because he was not there. He was not seen. He was not even in Rivers State at the time, at least according to the reports that were out there at that time. And for some people, they think it's a witch hunt. Now, what would you say about what could be behind why, he's being invited? I was trying to give an example to Ige of some who have argued that, videos of people who were at the scene of this crime at the time chanting the name of the FCT minister and saying, that it was because of him that we get this and we get that, is enough to warrant for him to be invited to clear his name and at least say, I don't know these people, and so on and so forth. Could that be why, or could there be other reasons that the panel would have to have invited him when they look at this fact that, he was not really there and might not know anything that happened?
Well, let's say in law, we walk from the known to the unknown.
Okay.
Right? Now, panel having been constituted by the governor, pursuant to his powers under the Constitution. Remember that the primary purpose of government is to secure the lives, property of people, welfare of people. So, where you have a situation where anarchy is loose upon the land, the governor sets up a commission of inquiry to find out what happened. Now, people submit memoranda, and that's this individual memorandum that come before the panel. On the strength of that, the panel has the secretary and members. They will know who to invite, who was mentioned, right, in the memorandum. In any event, the panel of inquiry or commission of inquiry is not a death sentence per se. It still falls back on the basic ground norm, which provides that a man who is accused is deemed to be innocent until the contrary is proved. And the burden of proof does not necessarily shift to him. It lies mainly on the prosecution until he's able to come up with what has shown that I've absorbed myself blame. Now, concerning the FCT minister, you recall that a council election held. And before the election held, the governor made a broadcast.
Yeah.
Which broadcast also outlawed movements on election day, as usual, right? Except for those on essential services. But we saw in this state where people led themselves across the state, protesting, rioting, while movement was restricted. And they even did live videos on Facebook everywhere. They swarmed on RISEC office, on the bar road, all over Jerry. All that time, movement was restricted. So they broke the law from that point, right? Now, they took it a step further. Now, even if you had an order of court, let's assume without considering you had an order of court from a suit filed by Tony Okocha in the name of APC before Justice Joseph Odolifu of Peter Odolifu of Federal Court Abuja, restraining INEC from releasing voters register to RISEC. The same approach applied when I ran elections for council in 2015. Let's assume that you had that order. Do you resort to self-help to enforce the order? Are you court bailiff? Now, another court in Rivers State sat, right, and give a go-ahead. Now, those two courts are coordinate jurisdiction. Now, it does not allow for any of them to resort to self-help. So that if the court had an order of court, the other court did not say election should not hold. INEC don't release voters register to RISEC. Police, CSS, DSS don't provide security. That's what the judge said, right? He did say, hey, RISEC don't hold elections. Now you say you want to help yourself and say that's rule of law. Now you banned on the streets, mobilized people across the states to disrupt the voting process. That's not done. As if you're not done with that, you waited for a day of inauguration and set the council property ablaze. All sorts of things happened. In 2015, when they removed them from office, it's interesting to know what's still in court for 8 years. This is the 9th year.
In court for?
That council dissolution in 2015. All right? we didn't resort to self-rep. We left the council the next day. In fact, when Abuja, when we were pronounced result.
This was under the wiki when he
course.
came in from Amici at the time.
Yes, of course. July 9, 2015. Here you are. You did not leave the council. You don't want to leave the council. And he set council ablaze. Council property is government property, for God's sake. There's a limit to what to play in the name of politics. When you have a crime committed, it's a crime. It's not politics. If you set public property ablaze, it's arson. It's criminal. It's punishable by law.
So, but for many, how does the FCT minister is invite? Some people say that there is political witch hunt.
I don't know about that. I just mentioned here that before the panel sits, they receive memoranda.
And it is whatever in that
whatever is in that memoranda, I have not seen, you have not seen. So the panel does not invite people on hearsay. The panel invite people based on what they have before them. And then it is incumbent on you.
Yes.
Once invited, the only man that has is cloaked immunity, or the only set of people that cloaked immunity under Nigerian law, under the Constitution, Section 308, that cannot go before proceedings like that, the president, the vice president, the governor of a state, and the deputy governor of a state. Every person, including the senate president, must go. So it invites you. I want to support what my brother Olalekan Ige said before I arrived there. It's incumbent on you to decide what mode to appear, whether in person or by legal representation. But appear you must. Recall also,
is there a consequence if you do not appear?
Of course, there should be a consequence. Now, he also made a point about His Excellency Dr. Peter Dili in the case of the Judicial Commission, in the case of the Justice Kayode Esho, retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was set up by Mechi when he was governor. Yes, when they got to Wiki's time, he set up the Justice George Omeriji Commission. And Mechi did not appear in person, but his government agencies were made to appear. His government operatives, particularly the Accountant General of the state at the time, Chief Ngozi Abu, appeared and made representations to the panel. In fact, his submission closed the case. All of that time, he saw Livingston Wichi flying left and right to Abuja to appear before Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges, headed by SMART, Senator Sama Anyanwu, who is now PDP National Secretary, to serve Amechi's nomination. It was carrying whatever to indict Amechi, but by the time that one appeared before Justice Omeriji, asked them to produce the panel report. Have you seen it? Have you seen the white paper? Have you seen the commission report? You will not see, because what they sought to get was answered completely from that document dropped by the former Accountant General of the State.
In other words, you're saying that the FCT minister, if not for any reason, at least to come and say, well, clear your name, you can, by proxy, if you don't want to come in person, appear before the panel.
Besides what anybody would have said in the memorandum, even his actions, his statements were enough, incendiary remarks were enough to activate the violence.
Which is something I wanted to clarify, because the video I watched, where we had some people in the Secretariat chanting and saying his name, Wike is our man, and insinuating that they were doing what they were doing because they are in support of the FCT minister. And I was speaking to some individuals and like, could this be something that could, if this is presented as evidence, because I mean, those that were invited, the various council chairmen were told to bring videos and whatever they have while they were coming. If this is submitted, is it enough reason to even say, let's invite the FCT minister? And some individuals say, well, this could work, at least for him to come and clear his name and say, no, I did not send anybody or do that. I wanted to clarify on that particular issue. Do you think that could be something that is enough for the panel to say, invite this person whose name is being mentioned here to come?
Under our law, if you mean, that's what they call prima facie evidence. Prima facie simply means on the face value. All right? That's what they call circumstantial evidence as well. Now, if you're found within the particular vicinity, within a period of time, and then the crime occurred, if the police arrives at the scene and they don't know exactly who did what, they mop up everybody around there. In course of interrogation, all right, those who have nothing to do will let go until they get to those who are directly involved. Don't also forget that some of these attacks were not done in the night. People saw people, all right? So those who can associate with you are such that you have a case to answer. You have no case to answer as a different thing. If you come before a panel, like I said, there's only a death sentence. If you come here and absolve yourself of blame, you walk away. The panel will just suddenly come and cock a gun at you. They will throw questions at you. You answer. You had Ige say so. Former governor Peter Deli did that. To exonerate himself of blame. And what was that commission inquiry looking at that time? The state was coming out from a background of mindless violence where whole communities are crushed in Abua, in Okuru, in Port Harcourt here. Communities were flattened out. People were killed mercilessly. And the government thought it was time to reconcile the state, okay? So people have reasons why they were grieved, should come and ventilate their grievances. And then the government will take it up from that point. Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that was what it was called. It moved on to Judge Omereji, which was probing sale of state assets. And we mentioned there, during the campaigns, when Noyeko was running for governor of Rivers State. It was a big deal. Up until now, what did they have from that? All of those allegations are frivolous because, for God's sake, a state government will not just have an asset like this stable is now in Nigeria. You don't just sell it and then there'll be no records to show anywhere. There must be records, right? So let's move away from the pedestrian, very mundane approach to governance in the state. We have actually declined. This state was a lot better than this. And if we try to get it right, let's do the right things. Government is not a monarchy. A particular kind of government run as a democracy. Now, that democracy is defined by procedures. One, you come by way of election. That election itself does not give you the right to stay there in limine. You have a time limit. When the time is due, say 4 years, you will leave. In the case of local government councils, 3 years, you leave. But what about seeing recently is people want to turn democracy to monarchy in Rivers State, where they go to office and they don't want to leave. Or they want to put their surrogates who must do their bidding, otherwise all hell must let loose. It's not done anywhere. So all of this are pointing to the fact that the FCT minister who leads that team of people must. Remember, he has said a couple of times, even within his party, if some governors try to identify with the governor of Rivers State here, he will set their states on fire. Right? Those kind of statements are from a leader can provoke crisis, can inspire followers who are not having appropriate discretion. Till God don't talk, we'll fight. So as a leader, you're to be more circumspect in the kind of things you say or do in public, because people who follow you will be inspired. It may not be what you have said, right? But you're on the political soapbox all the time. It's not every day is not a campaign day, so you have to be very careful about what you say or do per time, right? All of those arguments about structure and no structure, what's all that? So, a council election was on the hold. I was electoral officer, and I produced 2 chairmen between 2004 and 2007 when I resigned to run for House of Assembly in Rivers State. With the Martin and Mayule and co. Advanced maybe all of us. I had of 2011, all right? I ran elections in the MoMA with the local government that was part of House of Assembly in Rivers State. I know how it works. So it was my time as electoral officer who produced Wuka Nocha as chairman in 2004. I supervised that election. I supervised the election that brought his cousin John Nocha as chairman in 2008. So, but it got to 2015, and even when the law that was used to run elections was not any law was brought from any foreign land, it was a local government law number 2 of 2012 that was used in 2015. Yet you have a story out there that they gave number of days that are whatever, notice of poll. Lies. And that's why in 8 years they will not be able to deal with the issue on appeal. They brought all sorts of things to slow down justice. The substance of the matter is that the election held in accordance with the law, and they said no, so he struck elections down. Now come and prove why it's not legal. That's been the problem. So it can't always be a way. But even at that, no, we didn't fight not because we couldn't fight. But you see, the state must be bigger than everybody else. If you fight, the Equatorial people have one adage. When a monkey sees trees being felled, and then it's jumping and prancing about and laughing and giggling, it doesn't know that's his own home being destroyed. So one day he wakes up and all the trees that was jumping on, I'll be flattened out. That's what it looks like now.
All right.
You can't be jumping and be happy when you see people destroying your states for political reasons. Power comes and goes. We used to have big names when we were little children here. Today, down the line, how many years down the line, they're no more there in the mix. All right? So we need to act with, at all material times, with the fear of God, number one. Number two, that this state is far above every interest we pursue. There must be a state before you.
All right.
So if you don't have that kind of philosophy guiding your politics, you always get it wrong.
We'll get across to Mr. Ige quickly. It's one more question I'd like both of you to respond to. I'll start with Ige this time. But let me also inform those who are listening. 0809-030-6416 is the WhatsApp number. So you can be sending in those questions. We'll also see if we can create time to take one or two calls and hear what your questions and responses are. But Mr. Ige, quickly, I'd asked you this question before, and then we had to switch to Mr. Eli. I need you to reiterate. Now, we've had panels in the past, and these panels of inquiry make recommendations, come up with their reports. The question now is, with this one that we have, what should Rivers people expect? Is it going to be business as usual, or are they serious hopes that, well, whatever report comes out of this will be followed through with regards to implementation?
Excuse me, please. If you ask me, there is no reason for anybody to panic at the moment. Let's allow the Commission of Inquiry do its job, submit its recommendation to the governor of Rivers State, and thereafter wait for the white paper that will come out of it. There is no need to begin to make any guesses whatsoever. And that's why one of the best ways to also ensure the panel does a good job is to ensure that if you are invited, appear. If you can't appear in person, send a representation. You can put all of your thoughts together. You can even write to the panel to say, look, okay, can you send me what are the accusations against me, and let me respond, in black and white. There's no crime in that. There's no need for us to begin to second guess what will happen or what will not happen. No, it's not necessary at this point in time. What we should be bothered about is that the kind of mayhem that happened, at the various local government secretariats should not happen again. Rivers State is a very peaceful state, a very great state. When you're outside of Rivers State, the way people revere Rivers State and its politicians, then you begin to understand why this sort of arson mayhem should not have taken place, in the first place. And money that local governments will have used to better the lives of the people is what they will now use to build back this public property. It just didn't make sense in any way. So we should be more bothered about how the Commission of Inquiry will do a good job, submit its report, then wait for the white paper from the government of Rivers State, and thereafter, Rivers people can now know what has happened and what is the next step forward.
All right. Let's take a few messages on Facebook before we come to Mr. Eli. Godwin Agwanwo says, good morning, Ifemi, and to your guests. Concerning this matter, it's very necessary to have instituted the panel because they need to know, and also Rivers people need to know who the real enemies of the state are and those behind the atrocities that we witnessed. This matter should not just die like that without bringing culprits to book. He sent in this one from Alakaya. He's also watching from Alakaya. Meanwhile, for those who are listening, you can watch us live on Facebook and drop your comments as well at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Godfrey Bariko says it's a waste of Rivers resources. Nothing would come out of it. At the end of the day, it's going to be a father and son fight. It's only youths who have nothing to do that will mind the politics in Rivers State. The chairman of the panel, for me, is what I can't get what you're saying, but you're saying he's not inviting his conscience or guilty of not inviting his conscience. It doesn't really add up. Godfrey, you can rephrase your statement, and that would help us a lot. Thank you. This one says, this matter should not be swept away. Thank God Ability at Wigbo sent in that one on Facebook. On WhatsApp, this one says, we're having this back and forth arguments about the Commission of Inquiry inviting people because directly or indirectly, people claim to be above the law in this country. If not, in a civilized society, you go and answer panel. So minds can be casted back quickly to what happened after Donald Trump's first president and the attack that we saw at the Capitol. We saw the panel that was set up and all the and even went as far as going to social media, looking at videos of individuals and faces that appeared and tracing those people down, and people were arrested and all of that went back and forth. Would we see something similar here? Let's say after recommendations are made, do you think that the implementation of it, because a lot of people have questions, and that's why a lot of people don't take these things too seriously in the country, because they feel at the end of the day, it's politics of the country. It just nothing would come out of it.
No. I don't agree. I think I want to disabuse the minds of people. There are no 2 days in life are alike. No 2 days. Yesterday was Thursday, today is Friday. The clock has started ticking on today. Before you know it, some things happened yesterday can now happen today. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I also like to believe that the government is sincere about protecting lives and property of Rivers people. On no account should any politician, living or dead, be associated with power at all costs. So I can take lives down, I can take properties down. You're taking us back to what Thomas Hobbes described as the state of nature, where life was brutish, nasty and short, where might is right. That is a complete no-no, an aberration of the Constitution that gives everybody the power to have a life with space. If we don't win today, tomorrow could be a turn. Well, in the case of the U.S. I cited, Abraham Lincoln became president. If you go and look at the history, he didn't just become president. He tried many times in many offices. Didn't succeed. But he became a president. Probably one of the best in the U.S. history. So, here, I think that to hit the nail on the head, somebody has to pay for the crime he commits, so that it serves as deterrence. So next time, there will be a peaceful transition of power. Recall also here that you have a right to refuse to participate in an election. In the APC, in Rivers State, not the current APC you have now, that is adulterated though. I'm talking about the regional APC, where some of us were major players. Council elections held in this state in 2018, while we were still in court. It held in 2021, while we were still in court. We didn't disrupt elections. Even though they were suppressing our rights and adherence, we chose the path of the rule of law. We might look foolish, might look stupid, but the bigger picture is that the state is bigger than us. So even though the person that came was oppressing our rights, and the government of the day was the federal government of Nigeria, was manned by the APC, as still is now, we didn't use federal money to bulldoze our way back. We could have done that if we had this kind of mindset. But today, Rivers will know who the real enemies of the state are, right? It does not show that you're civilized if you resort to self-help, all right? They had an election. They were lucky they had a complete term. And now they talk about rule of law, and I laugh. They lapsed. You went to court. 2 guys amongst you went to court. Chairman of Boni and chairman of Bobunkoro, right? For court to determine the tenure. And the court determined the tenure. A high court of Rivers State. You went on appeal. Appeal court upheld the judgment. So you had no tenure. Yet you see them making noise, telling that Amehule is telling that tenure. Meanwhile, Amehule himself has a lot of constitutional disabilities. After he defected from the PDP to the APC, they suddenly realized that they had committed political suicide. So now you hear them say they didn't defect. And then they never defended all that. You have to go and show them proof.
That will be a conversation that's another conversation. But let's take a few phone calls now quickly. 0817-923-0007. You can also call 0817-923-0003. Again, 0817-923-0007 and 0817-923-0003. A lot needed to be said. I know that we're eating a lot of the time, but then try to keep your contributions apt and very concise. Isaiah, we're starting with you from Buguma. You're calling from Buguma. All right, Isaiah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Let me greet the brother in the studio and the media man. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You see, Andrew, in life, one thing that is paramount is change and is very constant. And we should know that if previous inquiries were not attended to in the way it ought to, I don't think that it will continue. Just like the barrister has said, yesterday was Thursday and we have today as Friday. I believe very strongly that this may come in a way that it will set a standard and to set a precedent where people actions will be truly judged. And people, you can imagine a situation where when you see people chanting and calling a particular person in such an open, destructive action, you must know that, you understand, behind every fire, there must be a smoke. You understand, before the fire will pop up. You must first of all experience a smoke. So I want you to know that I think we'll get something very positive out of this.
All right, Gift in Yenegwa. Good morning.
Andrew, good morning.
All right, straight to the point, Gift.
Let me puncture the thought of the lawyer in the studio. Nothing will come out from this very inquiry. It's only daydreaming. And the reason why I'm using this very word, it is because the master that he supports, Rotimi Shibika Amishi, the former governor, His Excellency, never appeared one day and is encouraging Ezebonyi Sewike, my leader, to appear. Appear where? Go and tie him with rope to come and appear. You think if you come in the studio to sound this way, things will change. My leader again, Sal Shiftun Ukusha, stated it clearly, the authentic chairman of APC Rivers State, that you must bring in the matter of Rivers State House of Assembly. Who bombed that place? Who destroyed that place? Before the governor went there to bulldoze down that place in the name of structural defect. Well, what is happening in this country? Are we jokers? Nothing will come out. Nobody will appear there. I promise you.
Let's go to Bori.
None of you will do anything. Shame on you guys.
All right, I think you'd have to mind the language, Gift. That's not necessary because that might, if your calls are not taken next time, don't pick an offense out of it because the language you're using now is not one that's airworthy. Leighton Barry from Bori. Good morning.
Good morning, Ifeami Andrew.
You're welcome.
Good morning to the guests in the studio.
Good morning.
Yes, my concern to this issue being discussed is that I am not totally against it. But the issue that warranted the setting up of the commission are not part and parcel of what you are doing. I listened to what the guests there were saying. I look at it as very parochial, monomanial, and don't minding the kind of petty language as in to gain sympathy you're trying to add. When some of those things, those indices I expect to be part of that commission are not there, then it looks to me that it is a wasted effort. Like, for instance, the APC Secretariat that were dynamite is not part of that. Okay, the previous, I think, Rivers State House of Assembly was also dynamite. It's not part of your discussion or part of why you set up this commission. And so how did you expect that you will call the Minister for FCT to be part and parcel of this? It can't work that way. If you want to convince the people well to see, even if you have your secrets in what you are doing, try to convince the people so that they will see reasons with you. That's
all right.
What you have behind.
Obed in GRA, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Go on, Obed.
Yes, let me first apologize to the lawyer in the studio for that utterance. You know, this rainy season, water has covered the house of some people in Bayata.
Obed, no. The show is not to attack callers or individuals or please.
Okay, sorry.
We've addressed that. Move on from it. Make your point quickly. We don't have a lot of time.
On the issue of this thing, who appear, who is not going to appear, the fact that certain people did not appear, nobody is bigger than the law. You understand? People say and mention. I watched the video where people were chanting a certain individual's name. So as the person is being called upon, he's not bigger than the laws of Rivers State. You understand? If he's bigger than the law, he would have opted to become the governor of Rivers State. So he was the governor here, so he had to appear and appeal. You
If he didn't appear, and I'm telling the governor, this panel should not go the way other panels have gone. Please, we want to see different things.
All right, Obed, thank you. All right, gentlemen, you have 2 minutes each. Let's start with you in the studio because some of the callers directed issues towards the APC.
I won't bother about that first rude boy.
All right, just go on with your response.
The
few seconds.
Fact that we'll lay down the marker here, right? The Commission of Inquiry had the terms of reference. That term of reference defines what I read was to investigate, okay, the remote and immediate cause of what happened in October 5.
So it should not concern the assembly, and the secretariat. That he said
it's as good as saying that when we set up this George Mauricio Commission of Inquiry, he said from 2015, right? No, from 2011 to 2015, and people asked, if you want to probe Amechi, then probe Amechi from 2007 when you were chief of staff. Have you forgotten the Wike didn't do that? Yet Amechi sent Ngozi Abu, Akana General, who is the best person to give accounts of government assets or government monies in circumstance. Not even the Commission of Finance. Commission of Finance is a political appointee.
So he didn't appear himself, but he sent someone to represent him.
And that was enough. I've said that over and again. You don't need to come. But this is investigating violence, not funds, not finance of the state, all right? Violence that led to destructions, all right? Or property, lives and all that. You go there. If you don't have anything to hide, you go there. Otherwise, you accept that, look, in law we say a man intends the natural consequences of his actions. Your actions might be physical, they may be verbal, all right? There are things you say that can set a whole house on fire, a whole state on fire.
All right, we have to interrupt you, unfortunately, Mr. Eli, and get to Mr. Ige. Ige, if you can hear us quickly, let's get your response as we attempt to wrap things up. Hello, Mr. Ige, if you can hear us.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Let's get your response quickly. A few seconds. I'm sure you heard the callers.
I think all reversible should. Yes, I heard them. I think all reversible should just look forward to what will be the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry and the final white paper that will be released. It's too early to preempt anything at this point in time. We should just be more interested as to how we can prevent a future of occurrence of what has happened thus far. Let's look out for what the Commission would submit.
All right.
The final white paper that will come out.
What would be your response to some of them who said, why did they not also include the issue with the assembly and the arson and all of those? Why was the panel also looking at that violence or the dynamite that was reported to have been thrown?
There's absolutely no wrong in them advocating for a panel of inquiry to be set up to look at that. They're also within their rights to express their reservations over certain things. So they can as well make the representation to the governor of the state to also set up a panel of inquiry, a commission of inquiry to investigate what they had stated in their various submissions. There's absolutely no crime in that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ige.
Let me just add to help Ige and help us. Those who are calling for panels of inquiry on those incidents are right. It's really their rights. I agree with him. I've also forgotten that even before the governor exercised that power to set up anything, some people got some person arrested there and took to Abuja, right? Over the attack. The question is, after the police finished investigations, what came out? So if you have suspected some people to have committed an arson and they arrested them and they took them and then they are released, what do you want the governor to do? So they can ask for it, but most times don't levy accusations of people without evidence.
All right, Mr. Eli, thank you very much. We have to wrap it up here. The news at 9 is next. Hello, Port Harcourt follows immediately. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. It's 9.